You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Live Up to Freedom. If you are watching us on Worldview Tube, we're just picking up the coverage. It's been an ongoing coverage since last night, I want to say around 9 p.m. Eastern Time until about midnight. And then this morning, it has been picked up again. And if you're watching us on X America News or any of my platforms, well, we have been covering what is happening in Israel, in Iran, and the lack of nothing happening here in America for pretty much since moment one. And the coverage will continue. I'm going to be with you for next 2 hours. And I do have a very special guest who's going to join me here in a minute. But before we go to him, I want to say something. I've kind of said it on my posting. I've been posting like a maniac because that's what I do, right? Grab their words, translate, post. But I want to say this. And before I say it, I'm not asking for pity. I am not asking for a free pass. I'm asking for understanding. Listen, guys, I'm an Iranian by birth. I love Iran as a country. I love Iranian people. I love my heritage. I love our music, our food, our culture, our art. Okay. I have fought against this regime for so long. I don't even know how long it has been. On the other hand, I'm a follower of Christ, and God's covenant doesn't expire. So by command of God, I stand by land of Israel. I will. And then I'm an American by choice, by naturalization. I'm blessed, but that doesn't mean I need to pick a side today. A lot of you have come at me since last night, and you got to pick a side. There is no side. We're talking about humanity, okay? The people of Iran want that regime gone. But still with that, when about 78 or so civilians in Iran get killed last night and today, allow my heart to bleed a little bit. Calm down. I'm not defending the regime. I'll never do that. But allow me a moment to grieve. And then I will come back and I will continue reporting the truth. So again, I'm just asking for understanding. Those of you who have followed me for years, you know where I stand. I don't need to explain myself. But those of you who have come across my posts or videos since last night, chill. Give me a day. You'll get where I stand. Okay, that's out of the way. That's wonderful. A lot has been going on. A lot to cover. Not enough time. Honestly, I'm getting updates faster than I can read them. So let's dive right back into the coverage. It is an honor and a privilege to welcome back to Live Up to Freedom, Mr. Barry Nussbaum, dear friend, like a family to me, and also founder of American Truth Project. Hi, Barry. Welcome back.
Shalom, my great Iranian sister, Inaz. It's so good to be with you this chaotic day in Israel and Iran.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wish the circumstances were different, but as I was trying to get some sleep overnight, I'm like, I can't think of anyone. I can't think of anyone who would be the perfect mind, level, balance-headed expert to join me tomorrow on this coverage. So I appreciate you. I know it was a short notice, but I do appreciate you making the time to come and on. And let's dive in. Let's start from here. How are you doing?
You know, I'm a little tired like you. I was up most of the night talking to family in Israel. The various enemies of Israel make it a point to attack during the night to cause the most chaos and the most terror. That's the purpose of launching in the middle of the night. What the Houthis have become infamous for is a missile every hour during the night. And Iran launched 100 drones during the night, which sent my family into the bomb shelters. Then there was time off, and now it's night again in Israel. It's the Sabbath, and they are back having Sabbath and doing their prayers in the bomb shelters because The third wave of ballistic missiles apparently is on its way from Iran to Israel. So, long-winded answer to your question. I'm tired and stressed, as I'm sure you are as well.
Absolutely. Yes, me and you, we can definitely relate to the internal exhaustion of what is going on. So let's dive in. I know you have a lot of inside information, but before we get to those, Barry, one thing I would love for you to address before we even talk about what happened is here's where I stand. A lot of people already started, the anti-Semites and freedom haters have already started setting up the stage on social media with, remember, Israel started this. So I put a Substack this morning saying, no, Israel did not start this. Islamic Republic of Iran started this 46 years ago by funding the proxies, by creating terror cells around Israel, by calling for demise of Israel and all Jews. So that's where I'm at. Israel finally answered and retaliated 46 years of chaos, blood, and death. What say you?
If anything, I blame Israel for an extremely absurd amount of restraint to the point of endangering their citizenry on an existential basis. Like you, I agree, beginning with the return of the Ayatollah from Paris, courtesy of our horrible president at the time, Jimmy Carter, who allowed the overthrow of the regime that sent Iran back into the Middle Ages, especially from the viewpoint of women. Israel has been the enemy on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. We will destroy the Satan of Israel, Israel, the little Satan. We will destroy the Satan of America, the big Satan. And it wasn't just noise. It has been a war fought through proxies, directed, trained, funded, and coordinated. And I should say, equally as important, armed by Iran. And I don't mean on a little scale. I mean on a world scale that has not been seen before. Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis, the Syrians, plus minor terror groups that pop up and go away periodically, all are part of this reign of terror orchestrated, directed, funded, trained, and armed out of Iran. It is stupefying to me that it took this long for Israel to finally do something about it. We should discuss why they waited this long. I think it's an important part of the story. But the fact is, as the Bible says, when someone says they're coming to kill you, which Iran has done every couple of days since 1979, rise up and kill them first. It's a biblical admonition because you should not be led to slaughter by turning the other cheek. Israel finally did what they should have done 2 decades ago.
Exactly. Now, because you know way more in this specific topic than me, I'll let you discuss the why they waited so long. But I have a very unpopular opinion here of why they finally did it. Barry, I can't help but to think. So, for 46 years, Iran has indirectly targeted Israel and Israelis. But then back in April, they finally crossed the line and send missiles directly from Iran to Israel. When Bibi Netanyahu tries to retaliate, Trump said, wait, come on, let's get you to Washington. Let's sit down. We sit down. I give you a copy of my book, Art of the Deal, and I'll tell you to go home and wait. I got this. In 60 days, I'm going to make the best deal with the same regime that I said Obama was wrong to making a deal with, by the way. But I'm going to make a better deal, and I'm going to resolve this. Comes day 61, Netanyahu is done. It's done with the mockery. I personally was offended when I saw the book. That's mockery. And he's like, okay, waited 60 days over, day 61. I am defending my people. I am going to protect the sovereignty of my nation, and you, Mr. Trump, can continue making a deal. Am I crazy to think that?
The problem that we don't know what we don't know. And here's what I mean by that. I keep hearing about the back channel threats between Washington and Jerusalem. And it goes back to Obama times. Obama strangled Bibi's attempts to defend his country. Trump was in office after and obviously had incredible support that was very obvious, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing the Golan Heights as part of Israel, having territories named after him, towns named after him, and so on. But the truth was, in spite of the amount of evidence that the Mossad took out of Tehran's warehouse that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, we are making bombs as fast as we can. Israel was restrained. And obviously during the Biden administration, with the holdovers of State Department people that were Obama, for want of a better term, kissing the tushies of Iran holdovers that became Biden staff that came from the Obama staffing, Israel was constrained. And then we have Trump 2.0, as Leo Terrell likes to call him. And the truth of the matter is he restrained Israel as well, because he had an idea in his head. He's the great peacemaker, and he was going to bring Iran to the table. The problem is he didn't appoint Inaz Annie Cyrus Deputy Secretary of State for Middle Eastern Affairs, and he should have, because you could have taught him that the Quran admonishes their followers to lie to the non-believers and to say whatever it takes to string them along until you're strong enough to conquer them. And that's what Iran has been doing. And Trump sadly fell for it until yesterday. And I'll tell you what I mean when we get to that point of the discussion. What Trump did yesterday was a great aid to the attack on the nuclear facilities of Iran.
Right. And here's the thing. If he did appoint me, I wouldn't even bother to try to make him understand Quran. I would just give him a copy of Islamic Republic of Iran's constitution, and I would say, read second paragraph, line 4, where it says, and this constitution has been created for establishment of the path of global caliphate. How's that for us, what we're dealing with? I kid you not, people. If you're wherever you're watching us, literally go on Google and search for English version of your Islamic Republic of Iran's constitution. It's a PDF file. The very first page, second paragraph, line 4 starts telling you why this revolution happened in 79 and why they're writing the constitution they're writing. And I don't know what Trump would have done with that information, but at least he couldn't say, I didn't know anymore. He couldn't say, oh, I'm dancing with the devil, but I didn't know it's the devil. I just thought they're good dancers. Because I feel like that's what he's been doing, wasting time. It's like, yeah, they're very good at dancing because of what you said exactly. They are trained to pretend and play tequila and make deals out inside the sacred month of calendar, and then go slay them wherever you find them. As simple as that. And again, from 1980 by Khomeini, and then Khamenei, Ahmadinejad, Pezeshkian, every single one of them on camera repeatedly have said that we will wipe Israel off the map. They have said it. It's not like it's secret and nobody knew, and Barry, me and you got the information in the dark back alley from some Mossad agent. They've been publicly saying it. Khamenei said in 2015, September 9th, 2015, he put a tweet out, the tweet is still out there, that said, the Zionist regime of Israel will not exist in 25 years. We've been 10 years through that 25 years already, Barry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing how those that don't know history, Annie, are doomed to repeat it. And I'm referring to Germany in the 1930s. They didn't make a secret. Hitler's plan was to conquer the world to wipe out the Jews, to wipe out England, to avenge the Treaty of Versailles that destroyed Germany after World War I. Everybody knew what was happening. And yet, Great Britain sent Neville Chamberlain to negotiate with Hitler. Neville Chamberlain gave up Czechoslovakia, came back and proclaimed peace in our time. He was acknowledged in history as the dumbest prime minister in the history of Great Britain for the reason that he didn't listen to hundreds and hundreds of press releases put out by the people who said, we're going to come and we're going to kill you. And that's exactly what Iran has done. It's just a generation later. And why we didn't move quicker? Because people want to take the easy way out. You know, President Reagan said it best, peace through strength. You have to be able to carry that big stick and be prepared to use it in order to get especially governments in the Middle East to listen to you, because the only thing they respect is strength. They don't respect conversation, as you said, because of their scriptures that teach them it's okay to lie to the other side. You can sign a peace treaty and it doesn't mean anything. You can abrogate it at any time when you are ready, because you're strong enough to accomplish your mission, which is the destruction of the non-believers, of which Israel is on the front line in the Middle East and America is on the front line for the rest of the world.
Exactly. Guys, we gotta head to our first sponsor break. Don't go anywhere because this conversation has not even started. We'll be right back. Well, hello everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, for at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com. Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. And remember, World YouTube has been covering the situation in Middle East between Israel and Iran pretty much since last night. So I want you to keep in mind every time you see an advertising, your way of supporting what we're doing here, which is very rare, by the way. Not many channels are covering everything true truth. They're doing some of them twisting the truth or taking a side or reporting unconfirmed facts, but we've been doing it right. So when you support our sponsors, you're supporting this network. And I know that ad was my artist studio, so that's icing on the cake. You get to support me and I can continue doing what I'm doing. Okay. And I am keeping an eye on comments, guys. I do see your wonderful comments coming in. I promise at some point I'm going to grab your questions for Barry. I will ask him and then he will answer them. Just keep them coming. I will not lose track. Let's bring back Barry Nussbaum, founder of American Truth Project and a very dear friend of mine for many years. Barry, before we dive back into the discussion, I do apologize when I brought you on originally. I should have said, please give a brief background of yours to our audience so they could understand why I couldn't think of a better, honest expert than you for today. So do you mind doing that now?
I'm happy to. I'm the founder and CEO of American Truth Project. It is a 501c3 nonprofit educational platform that in the very, very beginning, you were there, for which I'm eternally grateful. We educate on world issues, especially focusing on American security, anti-Semitism here and around the world, and focus specifically on Israel and the threats it faces from jihad, both there and around the world. I have Israeli family connected into the government, so there is a lot of inside information I get maybe a little earlier than other sources. And so for those of you that are interested, you can follow American Truth Project by just typing in findbarry.com. Findbarry.com takes you to American Truth Project, and you can sign up to get all of our content absolutely free on a regular basis for shows like this and the ones we do every week as well.
Yes, I strongly encourage everybody to go to findberry.com. You see the URL on the lower third, and do sign up for their newsletter. But again, those of you who followed me, I don't easily say an expert or couldn't find a better person. And yes, I had the honor to be the national director of American Truth Project at the beginning. And I can tell you the information received from Barry, it's definitely factual. He doesn't mix emotion and side and bias. Maybe that's where I learned to stay very unbiased, Barry. Working with you, I learned not to get too emotional when it comes to the issues. I think that's where I learned it. We're gonna go with that.
It's hard when you love a country and you love the people of the country, and you know there are mistakes being made. It's difficult. You do a good job, Annie.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so now let's get to yesterday. Last night, technically our local time, or 3:20 a.m. Tehran time, a retaliation by Israel, completely called for. I personally think it was brilliantly put together and brilliantly carried out. But again, I might be biased, but I think it was. And I watching the Iran news, their own IRIB news, Barry, they were rattled, they were shaken, they were thrown off their games, they were scrambling, and they were juggling. All of that is an understatement. And then on top of that, back to back, Khamenei was receiving news that close to 13 of his leaders just died. And we're talking top commanders, from Quds forces to IRGC forces to Air Force. They just dropped dead. They were targeted, assassinated, done, dead. So go ahead.
What Israel pulled off rivals and probably exceeds what is generally considered in espionage intelligence history the greatest coup of all time, which was the Hezbollah pager attack that took place a few months ago in Lebanon, where it's an amazing story. It's like a Jason Bourne novel, but it's true. Israel had started a pager company that was expressly designed to sell pagers to Hezbollah. They made the pagers with a very, very microscopic amount of explosive material, got Hezbollah to buy the pagers, pay for the pagers, distributed them to all of their local leadership, and then blew them all up. And if that wasn't enough, they had distributed walkie-talkies knowing that Hezbollah would then cancel the use of pagers. And at the big funeral for all of the Hezbollah people that died, when the walkie-talkies started being called, those equipments exploded. Unbelievable, and it was all caught on tape. This is probably bigger than that. And here's what I mean. Israel did not go in blind. Israel doesn't do that. Israel doesn't do what the Houthis do and the Iranians do and Hezbollah does, which is Hamas is famous for it, for shooting missiles blindly into civilian areas. Israel targeted specifically the military infrastructure, and of course the nuclear facilities throughout Iran that are highly protected. The first coup, as it were, which you pointed out, 13 people were killed in the first raids. The chief of staff of all of the army, the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the commander of this headquarters, that headquarters, the Navy, the Space Force, the Revolutionary Guards, the Army, the Navy, the Ground Forces, the Air Force. 13 leaders, including the head of the armed forces, and I might add, several very close allies and advisors to the ruler for life, the Ayatollah, all taken out. How did they get them all? Well, it's interesting. We don't know the details, but what's been leaked is Israel had agents in Iran say that something big was going to happen and inspired a gathering in a secret bunker of the heads of all of the brigades of all of the armed forces of Iran. And then they blew up that building with everybody in it. So literally in seconds, Iran went from complete command and control of the armed forces, the Navy, the Air Force, the Space Force, the missile brigades, the Al-Quds forces, and so on, to no command and control. It was literally over in a second. They did it with agents planted in Iran. Now, what's curious is there are a great number, and it numbers in the millions, of people that think like you do. Iranians in Iran that hate the mullahs. They hate the secret police. They hate the fact that women have no rights, that if you say something on the internet, you're going to disappear and probably your family as well. If you dare not to wear your hijab correctly in public, you'll be flogged, if not killed and tortured and put to death, and on and on and on. The vast majority of the people in the country, first of all, are not even Persian, and number two, don't want this government. They want freedom. They want to be westernized, but they can't because they're led by a barbaric dictator for life who has around him a cadre of similar believers. And in spite of that, somehow, through the mysterious workings of the Mossad, the, shall we say, Secret Service of Israel, they infiltrated the meeting site. They knew where it was. They knew when it was. They knew when it was going to happen. And they put a target on that building for the jets to hit it with a missile. That's amazing. By the way, we should add to the discussion, President Trump was part of the ruse, and it's come out this morning.
Well, since you brought it up, I was going to go there a little later, but since you mentioned it, I go there kind of now because we're coming up on our second ad break. But I am disappointed, and in the response or lack of response from our government, the administration altogether, and Trump himself. As you know, last night, nothing except Rubio coming out saying that we had nothing to do with it. I'm paraphrasing, but we had nothing to do with it. Please don't kill our people, and moved on. I'm not saying if he needed to deny it for whatever cowardly reason, that's fine, but he could at least phrase it better. But we distanced our administration. I'm not naming Trump at the moment, but our administration distanced itself from Israel's retaliation. And that was disappointing. President Trump to this moment is still not addressing the nation. I think that's disappointing. I'm sure you'll have some facts that will prove me wrong, or at least give me a little bit of feel better about what Trump is doing. But just based on the actions and lack of reaction, where my head is at this moment, as this is not the Trump or Trump administration I was expecting when it comes to such a huge day. Again, as you said, this was huge. It is still huge. It's still ongoing. And I personally pray that this is it. This is the time that this beginning, it's going to be the end of the monsters in Iran and in Middle East altogether. But because I dragged on my very deep frustration, let's take our next ad break, Barry, and then when we come back, you make me feel better because I have a feeling you have an answer that's going to make me feel better. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. And I hope you have not forgotten to share this stream, whatever platform you're watching. And by the way, if you're in America, did you know you could actually donate to more than one charity? I knew. I hope you did. If you didn't know, you can donate to more than one charity. You can donate to as many as you like, as much as you can afford, and they're all tax deductible. Amazing, right? So here's what I'm going to ask. wvwfoundation.com. That is how Brown House is funding this network that is giving you 24/7 free programming, right? wvwfoundation.com. And here's the second one, findbarry.com. American Truth Project is actually a nonprofit organization doing amazing work. So if you got a 10, split it to a 5 and a 5, head over to wvwfoundation.com, make the 5, and then head over to findbarry.com and make a 5, and they're both are going to get you a tax write-off receipt. You feel better, I feel better, and lots more good information and truth is going to get out there. So let's bring back Barry, and I will not even delay. I said my piece. What say you, Barry, on my feelings about what happened since yesterday?
First of all, you're not wrong. I am similarly disappointed, Annie, that I wanted a very strong statement from the president, and if not from the president, from the Secretary of State. However, I think I understand what's going on, and I'll give you my 2 cents worth in regards to why it's not stronger. Trump is working very, very hard to expand the Abraham Accords. And he's trying to do that with the countries that mean the most, that will make the Abraham Accords something significant, specifically, most prominently, Saudi Arabia, and on a secondary basis, maybe Syria. What's going on behind the scenes is a massive arms airlift right now between the United States and Israel. That's number one. It's not common knowledge. I know for a fact it's going on, and it is round-the-clock flights from the United States and various bases of the United States into Israel. Specifically, the bombs that were used at the Natanz enrichment site overnight were American weaponry, the heavy weapons, the biggest bombs that America can give to Israel, that Israel can get there with their smaller jets. Israel doesn't have B-52s. It doesn't have the heavy lifter bombers long range that the United States does. So Israel makes the best that it can. That's number one. Number two, behind the scenes, America has rallied and gotten on board Great Britain, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan, all of whom are shooting down Iranian missiles right now. It's not public knowledge. In fact, America made a point of saying, hey, we had nothing to do with the attack. Don't hit us. Leave us out of it. But they did say something very important, which was if any American facility is hit, America will respond in a very, very aggressive manner. They did evacuate most of the personnel from American bases throughout the Middle East. That's to protect the families and support personnel of the ambassador staff that work for the State Department. But the fact of the matter is, behind the scenes, they're working very aggressively shooting down missiles. While we were off on break, I checked. There are apparently 9 ballistic missiles that have gotten through so far out of the 200 launched. There is extensive damage in Tel Aviv. Thank goodness there are no deaths reported yet. There is one person in critical condition. You notice the difference between Israel and Iran. Israel targeted military installations. Iran targeted downtown Tel Aviv, which is all civilian. There's 21 in the hospital, 1 in critical condition, 9 locations where the missiles have gotten through, either the Iron Dome, David Sling, the Arrow missile system, or those are all Israeli, and the Patriot missile system that is supplied by, manned by American troops. And the balance of the missiles have been shot down. Supposedly, there's another volley coming. Keep in mind, every time a volley leaves Iran, Israeli satellites pick up where they're coming from and they wipe out the rest of the missiles. So it's not all bad, except for the fact that Israel is in terror, and my family right now there is in a bomb shelter, which they have been in for about the last 30 hours.
Yes, and since you brought it up, let me address something. Yes, there were a few residential buildings, apartment buildings, that ended up being hit last night, especially. And I want to address this as an Iranian. Just bear with me for a minute. Number one, is there actual documented, shown evidence that those were the Israeli missiles? And then was there any proof that it didn't happen while Islamic Republic of Iran was trying to deflect them? Just saying. Now, another thing, not to be so cold-hearted toward my fellow Iranians, another thing is the difference is, Barry, you can confirm this. In Tel Aviv, you don't find an apartment, residential apartment, that is holding, head of Mossad or head of military. But the regime of Iran does that. They purposely put the head of IRGC and Quds and Air Force and Army and Basij and morality police. They spread them between residential areas for reasons like this exactly. They use their people as human shield.
Yeah. They hide behind the humans instead of putting the humans behind them. It is the playbook of Hamas. It is the playbook of the Palestinians in the territories, and it's the playbook of Hezbollah. You don't put the civilians behind you and stand proudly in your uniform to defend your countrymen and women and children. You put them in front of you and hope, this is the truth, and hope that they are hit by a projectile, because then they can be declaimed martyrs and get people like Greta Thunberg all excited and all angry that, look, Israel's killing civilians, they don't care. When in reality, there are statements after statements after statements of how that is literally the strategy. Interesting point. One of the Revolutionary Guards that was taken out, I've got the picture. They took him out in an apartment building that is a beautiful high rise in Tehran with a missile through the window while he was asleep. The apartment above it, the apartment below it, the apartment to the left, and the apartment to the right, undamaged. Israel got him with a missile through the window, didn't drop the whole building, just took out his apartment.
Yes,
Why would
actually,
they?
the person you're pointing out was pretty much Khamenei's right-hand man. And the videos and pictures were everywhere showing that it was like literally targeted, went in, that one unit, and done.
Amazing technology, isn't it? Absolutely
Yes.
amazing technology. I would also add, and I think it's very important that your viewers hear this, there are a tremendous number, and I've been told it's in the millions, and I was told this by basically the head of military intelligence in Israel. There are millions of Iranians that are praying daily for freedom from the insane government that they've been forced to live under for 40 plus years. That's where Mossad gets so many volunteers to find out exactly where these people are, where the missile sites are, and so on. You know, part of the events of the past 24 hours that it just blows my mind. Israel built, get this, a drone assembly factory in Iran. And those drones attacked missile sites as soon as the attack started. They were launched by Iranians against the military establishment of Iran. And specifically, they targeted the anti-plane missile systems supplied with Russian technology largely. So when the jets came in to strike the military bases that these missile launchers were parked in front of, Israel has released the videos today. It's unbelievable, of these little attack drones being launched off of trucks that were built in Iran, launched by Iran, controlled by Iran. I'm talking about the opposition to the government because they want a new government. They want to be free. They deserve to be free. Before 1979, Iran's greatest ally, especially militarily, was Israel. The women and men in Iran were free, and they could be Islamic, or they could be Baha'i, or they could be Christian, or they could be Jews. And they had as their closest ally Israel. And all that changed with the Islamic Revolution led by Ayatollah Khomeini, who, like I said earlier, was encouraged, supported, and tacitly confirmed as the new leader by none other than Jimmy Carter, our worst president possibly ever. Although, you know, between
There's
him and Biden,
Biden.
it's probably, I would say, and probably Biden gives him a run for his money.
Definitely. I'm glad you said this because I just received notification on a video that Bibi Netanyahu put out. I can't get the video to our control room, but I'll read the message or transcript of it. It says Netanyahu tells Iranians attacks pave ways for freedom. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a video message addressed to the Iranian people on Friday his country's attacks could pave the way for them to overthrow the Islamic Republic. And I quote, "The objective of Israel's military operation is to remove this threat, both the nuclear and the ballistic missiles, to Israel. And as we achieve our objective, we are also clearing the path for you to achieve your objective, which is freedom. The time has come for you to unite around your flag and your historic legacy by standing up for your freedom from an evil and oppressive regime. Tehran has never been weaker," by Tehran meaning the regime. "This is your opportunity to stand up and let your voices be heard," Netanyahu added. And Barry, this is so timely. First of all, I'm very glad he did. And I'm going to put this out there because I love getting ahead of the anti-Semites and Israel haters, right? Watch as it's going to be like, Netanyahu is trying to install somebody else in Iran so he can control them. Mark my words, people. It's going to come out. But it's
Probably.
amazing. It's amazing because since last night, the priority of Iran's regime, like the police and the morality police and IRGC and fire department, everybody's constantly pushing people back into their homes, which makes no sense. You're like, wait, we're under attack. Why are they pushing us back into our homes? That could be a target. But they're so afraid of quick uprising because they know they can't control it this time. They're so afraid that they're sending people right now. Priority is go back to your home, and then they put the gag order out on people, citizens, social media, and then of course they cut internet as fast as they could. This is so timely because people of Iran were already thinking, okay, this is a great opportunity. With Netanyahu putting this video out, and last night, Reza Pahlavi, the crown prince of Iran, putting a tweet out asking the police and military to join the people of Iran. I mean, I'll let you finish that thought.
I was told a very, very interesting story by one of the top military intelligence trainers Israel has. In fact, this guy is so high up in the establishment that he addresses the graduates of the intelligence unit, which is Unit 8200, before they take their roles. He told me a story that I didn't know till he said it, which was during the Green Revolution. If you remember, when there were 1 million people in the streets of Tehran, and they had just had it. The students had come out and said, we want freedom, we want to be able to vote, we want women to take off the hijab. Basically, they wanted to come into the 21st century. If you remember, they were crying out to Obama. They were begging him to send CIA or covert military or arm them or come out against the regime or something to show some support while they were being slaughtered in the streets by the Iranian government. What I didn't know was the mullahs were so sure that America would not let the people get slaughtered that they, their families, and the senior leadership of the IRGC and the government as a whole packed up, stole their money, filled the 747s that they commandeered at the airport in Tehran. The jets were idling and they were ready to take off for Switzerland and Saudi Arabia, apparently. They shut the jets down and they returned to power when they realized no one would come help the Iranians that were in the street. And what my friend told me was it was this close to the regime falling. All they needed was a little push from the United States. Now you fast forward to 2025 in June, where we are today, and it's totally different. Why? You have an American president that's not Barack Obama, number one. And number two, more importantly, the Iranian economy is on the brink of total collapse. There are water shortages, food shortages, unemployment's out of control. And the amazing, it's hard to believe when they do actual surveys of the opinions of people in the streets, most people there don't hate Israel. They remember Israel as their friend. They hate the mullahs. They hate the fact that they're living under a Nazi-like Iranian dictatorship. The question is President Trump going to pull a Barack Obama, or is he going to step up and do something?
Well, I have the answer to that question. And let's go ahead and take our last sponsor break for the first hour of this program. And then when we come back, I will share my thoughts on that question. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
But with Brandon, it's always cutting edge stuff happening in the world. And it's not just from the political angle, because you can get that on other platforms, but it's always from the biblical angle. So you're dealing with a guy that loves Jesus, you're dealing with a guy that's very intelligent, you're dealing with a guy that is cutting edge conservatism, and you're dealing with a guy that wants to be biblical all at the same time. And so for that reason alone, I hope many, many people will not just lift up his ministry in prayer, but will also financially get behind it, because from the angle I'm trying to describe, he really is the only game in town. And we desperately need it in these last days. Can I get an amen to that?
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. We're going to continue this discussion with Barry Nussbaum for the next hour. I know that is not the normal hour of my program. It's only 5 o'clock, but we're going to continue for another hour so we can get as much update and analysis and understanding. Because it's one thing, guys, to get updates. It's great. But then there's so much update that sometimes we need to break it down. We need to analyze it. We need to give different point of views to it. Otherwise, the chaos continues building up to where everybody's confused. So thanks to Brian House for allowing me to have an extra hour on air today. Same with X America News, my own platforms, well, they're open. So I guess thanks to myself too. But why am I like this? Okay, I am seeing your comments, and I see a very interesting comment, I think, on YouTube, which says, well, it was here. There we go. This is from Robert that says, sorry, it's from Facebook. How much can the U.S. help? We have Ukraine to supply. We aren't a bottomless pit. Robert, I think when I answer Barry's last question before we went to ad, this might answer your question too. On that note, let's bring back Barry Nussbaum, founder of American Truth Project, doing amazing work at findbarry.com. Back on. So here's where I'm at, Barry. Will Trump pull Obama? He already did. And let me tell you why I think he already did. As you know very well, on Inauguration Day, the Crown Pahlavi, or Crown Prince Pahlavi, sent a very delightful congratulation letters to Trump, also inviting him for a sit down. He didn't ask for much. He said, can we just sit down? That letter has not been acknowledged. Prince Pahlavi has not been acknowledged by Trump or Trump administration. Trump sat down in front of that gorgeous fireplace with everyone and anyone except Prince Pahlavi. Right there, us Iranians took the message that he will pull Obama. Instead of even acknowledging, what did he do? He picked up the phone and started negotiating with the regime of mullahs. That translation for us was a pull of Obama. Because also, as you were breaking this down, when the Green Movement happened, when the Mahsa Amini uprising happened, we didn't have Prince Pahlavi standing by ready to talk, let alone to take lead. This time we did. And Trump still decided to continue trying to get a deal with Iran. Now, it's okay to an extent, but today, as this situation between Iran and Israel is developing, as I've said this 5 times today on different programming, Iranians are not even asking for US or Trump, for that matter, for any help whatsoever. All we're asking him to do is to step aside. Right now, he's blocking the progress because he's still trying to make a deal with Iran. Even though about 3 hours ago, Iran withdrew from the negotiations, Trump's truth putting out on Truth Social is still, hey, look what Israel did to you. If you make a deal with me, I can stop him. He's still fishing for that deal. All we're asking Trump and his administration right now is, can you just step aside, please? If you step aside, we got the rest of it covered. We got Prince Pahlavi standing by. We got people ready to do the operating. And, well, Israel is doing a great favor to us as well. So that's where I'm at to answer your question.
I can't disagree with the words you've said. If I was called in the next 20 minutes and they want my opinion in Washington, what I would say was stand up for our closest ally fighting for the freedom of Westerners from Israel to Washington, D.C. Because the fact of the matter is, those same terrorists that are launching missiles still to this day from Gaza, still to this day from Hezbollah-controlled territory in Lebanon, and obviously from Iran right now. There was just a missile hit in Tel Aviv. I'm looking at it on my other computer. And of course, the Houthis are doing the same thing. It would be such a simple, expected thing for the American government to say, okay, that's it. You've got 15 minutes to stop. In 15 minutes, the next missile launch will not be responded to by the IDF. It'll be responded to by the American Air Force, Navy, Army, Marines, and so on. It would be a very simple thing and very expected. It's curious. Iran has announced not only are they not going to allow any more negotiations to take place with America vis-a-vis a return to the nuclear deal, they are threatening to withdraw from the nuclear proliferation treaty that they've been bound by. They've been, as every intelligent human being with more than 2 brain cells know, they've been violating that treaty for decades. Israel proved it when they stole millions of pages of documents out of a warehouse in Tehran, and then announced it on the world stage at the UN. And what did the UN do? Oh yeah, I remember, nothing. And what did the United
technically,
States
no.
do?
Wait,
Nothing.
Barry, technically, we can't say UN didn't do anything. What UN did was give the chair for human rights to Iran.
And it just goes to show you what a joke the UN is. OMG, the worst human rights abusers on the planet chair the Committee for Human Rights. It's like,
that's why every morning I put my milk on the floor and have my cats watch it. Learn it from UN.
touche. I hate to be one of those people, but I'd be totally fine if the UN moved out of Washington and went to Geneva and we just quit. It's a kangaroo court where a little country that's this big, that's run by terrorist thugs that slaughter their own people, gets one vote. The same vote as Israel, the same vote as the United States, Canada, or France, or Great Britain, or Germany. It's a joke. And so every single third world racist proclamation, anti-Semitic proclamation, anti-Zionist proclamation immediately passes. They don't even have to toll the votes. There is an unaligned contingent within the UN that automatically, they're called the non-aligned nations, they automatically vote for the insanity. And their offspring, as it were, are the people that take over the campuses at Columbia and Harvard and Yale and UCLA and USC and so on. They're still out there today demonstrating for Palestine, wherever that is, Queers for Palestine, which is like chickens for KFC, and so on. The intersectionality is insane, absolutely insane. So you get people like Greta Thunberg, who says she's taking supplies to the poor Gazans. When they board the boat, they find out that it's about a quarter of a truckload, 1/1000th of what goes through the Gaza checkpoints in an hour. She uploaded her "we're being captured and kidnapped" video before the Israeli Navy even got near the boat. And then they took her ashore in Israel and they wanted her to see the video that Hamas uploaded on October 7th, the slaughter of men, women, children, babies, old people. And she and her fellow mini terrorists turned their back and said, "We refuse to watch it." They don't care about humanity. They care about clicks. And sadly, the rest of the world does too. By the way,
Yes.
big news coming across right now. I hope this is true because we should talk about it. Israel said yesterday, if Iran targets civilian infrastructure, that will be a red line. They bombed a number of apartment buildings today in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem, and now it's being reported Israel is targeting the oil industry of Iran. And if they do, and if that report is true, Iran will go bankrupt in 48 hours. The illegal oil shipments will stop. Nobody will give them any money, and you will see what you have prayed for since 1979, Annie, which is the collapse of the theocracy that has driven Iran into the toilet economically and human rights wise. Without the oil, not without oil.
I can confirm the report. Tansim News, which is the IRGC tied news, just put that. Well, of course, they twisted it into they're accusing us of crossing the line by attacking residential areas, even though we have not attacked any areas, residential areas. But they are saying that now the Zionist regime is threatening to target our oil and gas industries. So
Look,
that is confirmed.
if they take out the refineries and the port where the refineries load crude, it's over. It's absolutely over for Iran. And you will see the kids take to the streets and the army will defect. And I don't know what kind of regime will follow, but I can't imagine it worse than it is now. I really, really can't. I think it's curious. I've seen reports while we're chatting here that there are jets in the air from Great Britain, from Germany, from the United States, and they are coordinating with Israel right now to defend Israel right now. And if that is true, and these other countries, by the way, Jordan and Saudi Arabia are shooting down missiles as well that are coming from Iran. There's a coalition building, and I would hope that Iran understands they're becoming more and more isolated. Interesting press release just now from Putin saying he is urging Iran to make a deal with the United States.
I'm sorry, did you just say Putin is urging Iran to make a deal with the United States?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to say this, again, unpopular, but that's who I am, right? I'm very unpopular, me and my opinions. At this point, Barry, I feel like it is not even our business anymore. Like, even Iran make a deal with United States of America, I think Netanyahu should continue. First of all, what is there to make a deal with? Go ahead.
Finish the job.
Exactly.
You don't. If the police pull up outside of a bank robbery, right, and the robbers are running down the street, and one of them says, "Hey, let's negotiate a settlement, and we'll keep the money, and we'll keep our guns, but we won't rob any more banks." No, the cops run them down. They put them in handcuffs. They disarm them. They take them to jail and they lock them up. They get it over with. Why? Because they don't want to have to deal with the same robbers again. You see what happens in every major city where there are revolving doors where people are arrested and they have $1 bail and they're out in an hour, and then they rob somebody else on the subway on the way home from court.
Well, technically, Barry, if you think about it, though, it depends. If the robbers are not white, Christian, or conservative, the officers might just say, "Hands up, don't shoot, go, take the money. You want my wallet too?" Because what you described was the old America, when we had law and order. Today, it depends. If you're a white, Christian conservative doing the robbery, they probably just shoot you right there, judge, jury, and executioner. But other than that, you probably do walk. They do make that deal with you.
Yeah, I would agree. I was being idealistic. You ruined my analogy by telling the truth.
My pleasure. On that note, though, I know it's not actually, we're not jumping, but since you brought it up, there's a lot of talk going on. I have my own feelings and educated guesses, but what do you think we're going to face tomorrow and Sunday with this war of these poor illegals being deported everywhere in America? What do you think these protests are going to turn into tomorrow and the day after?
Well, if you're referring to the No Kings demonstrations, I want to point out the 80-20 rule that has been made very popular in conservative circles, and I do believe it when you look at pollsters that are really independent pollsters. And here's what I mean by that. Donald Trump was elected. The number one issue, according to every exit polling, was illegal immigration and seal the borders. The vast majority of people that voted for him, something like 90-something%, voted for Trump. And I mean Republicans, Democrats across the line, and independents, because they felt the sovereignty of the United States was slipping away. The people that are in the streets right now that are demonstrating, for example, in Los Angeles, saying that believe this is the truth. I've got the videos to prove it. They're carrying signs saying that California, Arizona, and New Mexico should be returned to Mexico because it's Mexican territory. And they're carrying signs that state this. The vast majority of Americans see this for what it is. It's anarchy. And 80% of America is opposed to this kind of talk, and that includes a whole lot of Democrats, and 20% support it. The 20% are people like, well, the Squad, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and so on. And those are the people, Bernie Sanders and Tim Walz and Tim Kaine and so on, led by the more articulate ones like Elizabeth Warren. The vast majority of America doesn't support it. And Trump has outstanding, way over the top numbers. He's the most popular American president in the last 50 to 60 years because he is willing to show force to shut this down. The summer of love that we experienced a few years ago will not be tolerated under a Trump administration. The courts just gave him back the control over the National Guard in California, contrary to the lower court's ruling that had sided with Governor Newsom that wanted to send the National Guard home and let the rioters, well, riot peacefully. I think the worst thing the Democrat Party can do to make sure they never win another election is to turn out in force, wear masks, throw firebombs, and attack cops. I'm not wishing for it, but if it does happen, and I was a Republican campaign consultant, which I'm not, all I would do is show those videos, and then in the next election say, vote Republican unless you want this.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they have to do. And J.D. Vance or whomever the Republicans put up wins in a landslide. And in the midterms, in a couple of years, they take bigger control of the House and bigger control of the Senate.
True, but here's the thing. Well, one thing, going back to what you said a few minutes ago, give California back to Mexico. So I'm fine with it. Let's do that. But here's the problem. The moment we get California back to Mexico, all the illegals are going to now go to Arizona and then Texas because they don't want to be in Mexico. Remember? So this isn't about territory. Yeah, but seems like nobody, like, of course, common sense shouldn't exist because that's too much to ask. But when you think about it, it's like first of all, some of these pictures coming out of LA, even for me, the immigrant, right, who's wearing like 3 different country on her right now all together. I'm like, what are they doing standing on top of a burning car in Los Angeles, waving the Mexican flag? Why is this guy not in handcuffs? Like the law is pretty clear. This is declaration of war. This is a coup d'etat. But nobody agrees because now I'm racist, right? And it's much easier to call me a racist when I talk about Mexicans than when I talk about Iranians. So automatically you're a racist. Okay, let's give them California back. What about the rest of the illegals across this country? Are we going to give the whole country back to Mexico? No, the problem is not the land. The problem is hating America. The problem is the underlying red-green axis plan that has been going on for a long time. And that's what I meant. When you look at some of these, Chicago specifically, Atlanta and LA, Barry, 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 of these protesters are wearing the Chafié. They're pro-Palestinian, or they might be from Gaza, or they might have some sort of ties to Hamas. It doesn't matter. But when I try to explain to people these burn America down protests are not just about the left or about the young, stupid kids. This is an actual red-green axis. And with what just happened since yesterday, what's going to happen to the green side of these protests? Are they going to blow things up tomorrow and then claim mostly peaceful? Where's that going to go?
I have a couple answers. Imagine, as an analogy, if you and 10 of your friends got in a truck, broke into, say, Guatemala illegally, started waving American flags and burning the Guatemalan flag in the town square. And when the people that are paid by the government to shut down that kind of crime, I mean, the federal police or the local police showed up, you started attacking them and screaming how much you hated their country and how you want their country to be like the country you came from. And you're burning flags of their country and waving American flags. Every single one of you would be beat to a pulp and dragged off to prison. And nobody would complain. America is the only country in the history of the world where people break in, which is a felony. This idea that The View always talks about, it's not a crime. They're lying. It's a violation of numerous U.S. codes, which are federal laws, all of which are subject to long imprisonment. So disregard the idiots on The View, please. I'm talking to your audience right now. This is the only country where people break in, burn the flag of the country they broke into, scream that they want to destroy the country they broke into, and then fight to the death not to be sent back to the country they came from. That's the craziness that the vast majority, the 80%, are now seeing. And regardless of how many media reports talk about it's mostly peaceful, it's just some people screaming, they're laughing at burning cars, there's no looting. By the way, everything I just told you is a quote from people like Elizabeth Warren, from Chuck Schumer, from
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, and all the mainstream media. Nobody believes them anymore. They know they're being gaslit. And they've had it. They want the National Guard sent in. They want the Marines sent in. They want these people rounded up, imprisoned for a long, long time. And if they're illegal, they want them deported. So like I said, it's the greatest campaign promise ever delivered by one side to another. Videotape me. You will never lose again. That's literally what the Democrats are saying. Videotape what we're doing. We will never win an election again.
Basically, they are funding the future campaigns against themselves. Brilliant. Yep. Brilliant. I love it. Okay, guys, we're going to have to go take another sponsor break. I already skipped one, but that's okay. We're going to go to our next ad break. When we come back, since we only have like 40 minutes or so left, I want to ask Barry some of your questions from the comment section, and then some hopefully good news that we can look forward to. Do not go anywhere because we're going to be right back. Well, hello everybody. It's Annie Cyrus Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, for this I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHouseBG.com.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now in this very special coverage that is more than an hour that I am normally here. I am joined by Barry Nussbaum, founder of American Truth Project, that you can find either by going to americantruthproject.org or even simpler, find Barry.com. Lots of good information. Sign up for their free newsletter because you actually receive, instead of having to go different places to find things, you just find one nicely put together newsletter that gives you all the information, updates, and analysis you need to understand what is happening, not just today, in general. They cover a lot of good information. And if you follow me, you'll enjoy their content because it's very close. Islamization, jihad, Hamas, Hezbollah, explanation, why anti-Semitism is skyrocketing. On that note, Barry, why are we seeing the highest level of anti-Semitism, at least in my life, that I can remember outside of Iran, because you see way more there, but in the last 23 years of me in America, what is happening?
I think there's 3 words that describe it, and that is follow the money. The largest funder of Hamas is Qatar. The homeland for the leaders of Hamas is Qatar. And yet, the chief negotiator for the return of the hostages and the people that put out the news about the hostages is Qatar. And if that wasn't enough, the leading donor to American college campuses over the last 30 years, based on the size of their country versus their contributions, is Qatar. So schools around the world for 3 generations have been funded by a radical Islamic state that believes in the destruction of the state of Israel and is wildly anti-Semitic. What you're seeing is college kids coming of age dealing with curriculum from professors that have been, shall we say, tenured and supported for their careers, teaching courses invented and put into the curriculum by this state, among others. And so the radicalization of American college students has taken root. So when you see the news and you see Hamas flags flying on college campuses and Hezbollah flags flying on college campuses, the vast majority of people don't even know, other than their professor said, go out and demonstrate, you get an A. Let me teach you how these white colonialists have taken over Israel, even though nobody seems to care that the majority of Israelis aren't even white and can trace their ancestry back 2,000 to 3,000 years. And besides the fact that there was no mention in the Quran of Jerusalem ever, and the entire Bible is written about Jerusalem. The name Jew comes from Judea, which is part of Israel. I mean, the untruth is overwhelming. It is stupefying to people like us that are intelligent and want to be educated. But I can't tell you how many comments I get where people say, well, how do you respond to the fact that Gaza is basically an open air prison? And it's under the thumb of Israel, and it's been occupied since 1948. And I'll say, well, you know, that's amazing. Have you ever been there? And they'll say, no. And I'll say, I have. I've been there. Israel withdrew in 2005. There's not a Jew there, alive or dead. They dug up and took the cemetery bodies out to give it back to the Arabs. And it could have been paradise, and the Arabs made it into a hellhole, literally a military base where they positioned their armaments, their rockets, their storage facilities for bombs, rocket-propelled grenades, landmines under hospitals, schools, and UN facilities. Anti-Semitism is a result of the fact that they're controlling the media. And a lot of that media control comes out of the universities where education is corrupted. It's terrifying. And if it was banned, that kind of education, we would have a situation like happened after World War II. Germany had educated their kids to hate Jews and hate Americans. You know who Israel's best friend is? Germany. Why? Americans went in and changed the curriculum and changed the universities and made it a crime to give the Nazi salute, and made it a crime to belong to the Nazi party, and made it a crime to hate Jews. And it worked. And in Imperial Japan, where people were ready to die for the emperor, Japan is America's best friend as well. It can be done, but it's going to take a resolute government authority. The second problem is wide open immigration. You are seeing, and no one's a better expert about this than you, jihad by immigration all over the West. You go to a city like Dearborn, Michigan, the majority of the population is Islamic. They're Somali, they're radical, and look who they elect every 2 years. Ilhan Omar, who probably got her citizenship illegally, probably married her brother, has a big problem with Jews, a big problem with America, and wants socialism. That was courtesy of Barack Obama. He opened the floodgates, he let them in, he put them all in one place, and it was intentional. Almost every major city in Great Britain now has an Islamic mayor, and all of them are talking about Sharia law. Why? Because Great Britain opened the gates, and Islamic jihad happened by immigration. Same as France, same as Holland, same as Sweden, same as Denmark. You got to control the immigration. You got to control the universities.
It's interesting you say that. About 2 weeks ago, I want to say on my Substack, I actually released the Substack of Hijra, which is jihad by immigration. And I literally, I don't know if you read that, because it seemed like you read that, because you literally said everything I said in that Substack in a longer version, of course. And yes, since we said not to get too sidetracked, by the way, to our audience, if I'm not giving you too much breaking news or updates, remember, it is past 10:30 p.m. in Middle East for both Israel and Tehran. They have about a 35-minute time difference. So things are calming down. Not that this is over, but things are going to calm down. So I have my eyes on updates. If anything pops up, I'll let you know. And not to get too distance from the main topic, but it's still relevant. When you say, Barry, that most of the mayors are Muslim in UK, I think 2 days ago, Monday, someday this week, I actually said that what a slap in the face of British people when Charles comes out and knighted Mayor Khan. Like, the whole concept of the honor of service behind knighthood was just wiped off. How can you give this man who has literally burned down London, I mean figuratively and literally, since he came to office, I think, what was it, 2016 or 2017, he has literally cribbed Sharia all over it. He has defended grooming of white girls. He has protected rapists. He has pushed for Sharia courts. He has downplayed the female genital mutilation clinics in London. The guy just got knighted. Like, how bad can things be? Because to me, that's just, I mean, my face can say the rest of the sentence.
It's so sad, and I almost feel like it's the exact opposite of what needs to happen. It's I'm going to be nice to you, even though you have some completely insane beliefs, because I think, based on my Western brain, if I'm nice to you, you'll be nice to me. The perfect analogy, sadly, is, and I hate to use this analogy, but I can't think of another one. If a man's beating his wife, and the wife, for some psychological reason, can't leave or won't leave, and she just consistently is nice to the husband. If I'm nice, he'll stop hitting me. If I'm nice, he'll stop hitting me. If I'm nice, it never, ever, ever works. It encourages more of it. The only way you deal with insanity is to out crazy the crazy person. You have to stand up for your rights. You have to stand up against inequality. You have to stand up against these offenses, because people are telling me that have gone to Europe, you can't go down the street in London anymore. You can't go down the street in Paris anymore. There are whole neighborhoods where the police don't go because they're afraid of being beaten or killed. That is the result of this immigration. And like you said, knighting someone who wants to kill you, who believes in the eventual takeover of the world, who believes in a worldwide caliphate, and you're giving him an award? Oh my God. Could you be doing anything dumber than that?
Yes, he could. He could just hand that sword over so Khan can behead him. Because he doesn't realize that sword is going to turn around one day and the tip of it is going to be pointing at his neck. And I meant that figuratively. I just realized how barbaric I sound.
You're the one that taught me. When we first met, I told you I'd read the Quran, and I didn't really get how horrible it was until you started breaking it down for me 10 years ago. It is the scariest book in the history of politics. There is nothing scarier than reading that book and then having the admonition, as you said, it's illegal in the religion to change a word, because it is the story of the most perfect man who ever lived, Muhammad, and everything is as it should be in that book. So the reformers, as it were, are apostates and can be put to death for changing the words. That book calls for a worldwide caliphate, and anyone who believes, as a Christian, as a Jew, as a Buddhist, as a Hindu, as a Baha'i, Zoroastrian, whatever, your belief system is illegal and punishable. And that's the truth. And until people get that, they should go to the Anti-Cyrus School of Islam. They're going to get sucked into well, let me give you an award. Let me be nice to you. Then you'll be nice to me, and we'll all just get along. Dumbest thing you can do. Worst plan ever. It would be like right now today, Israel starts shipping flowers and candies and snacks to Iran and dropping them out of parachutes in the hopes that Iran got nice. That sounds really stupid, doesn't it? Well, the mayor giving an award, the king giving an award to the mayor of London is about in that same category, in my opinion.
Such a high prestigious honor. It's just, I couldn't, when I saw the report, and I was awake when it came out, actually, I felt my brain cells clashing. They're like, wait, cannot comprehend, does not compute, what's happening? But then it is King Charles. We all know he has always been a Islamic sympathizer, and he loves the one world order in religion. So I'm not sure if he didn't know as much as he knew, and he's playing the part. But since you said it, Barry, for our audience, whichever platform, Ex America News, Worldview Tube, Live Up to Freedom, wherever you're watching, there is such a thing as Inaz Annie Cyrus's Islamic School. You can find it on Substack. Reagan, if you could put up my latest Substack up, I would appreciate that. Go to Substack. You can either go to liveuptofreedom.substack.com, and every day I'm putting updates out. I'm putting Islamic text and explanation out, except today. You can find this that was released before 10 a.m. this morning. It's going to have the complete breakdown of the names of those who were taken out, what it means and why it's important, the locations that were targeted, why it's important, why it matters. It's a long breakdown, and I will keep updating it as this war progresses. But yes, you can actually go to Inaz Annie Cyrus's Islamic School, find it for free on Substack, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. And once a week, every Saturday, there's a paywall article that comes out. I shouldn't call it article. I've been told by subscribers that they are more like exposés, because they're somewhere between 17 to 37 pages of information. And interesting enough, I don't know how Barry knew it, maybe because he knows me very well. Tomorrow's paywall Substack is on the illusion of moderate Islam. I will be breaking it down in 17 pages with over 4,000 words using their own Quran, Hadith, Sirah, and Ijma on what happens if you try to even create the sentence of moderate Islam or reformed Islam. And I think that would be pretty good for anybody who thinks there is such a thing as moderate Muslim versus moderate radical. And we might be able to finally break that illusion. So on that note, I'm done plugging myself. And it's, again, you can read the free ones 5 days a week, or for $8 a month, you can also get the sixth one, which is on weekends. Let's go take one more sponsor break. I feel like I am breaking all the rules today on the sponsor breaks, but I think Brandon will forgive me. And we'll be right back. I know I promised, and I keep my promise. I see your question. I'll ask them as soon as we come back. I start asking your questions, and hopefully we will have enough time for Barry to answer all of them. We'll be right back. Wonderful. Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Please do support our sponsors. Any products you see, including my art studio, we will greatly appreciate if you would purchase from Worldview Tube store, my art store, because that way we can keep doing what we're doing, right? What we're doing is not as cheap as you might think. Well, actually, some people think it's for free. Nothing is for free. Let's go, since I have made a promise, let's go ahead and bring back Barry Nussbaum, founder of American Truth Project. You can go to americantruthproject.org, or easier, findbarry.com, and get a lot of good information. Also, you can find everything for free over there too, and consider supporting them, because American Truth Project is a nonprofit organization. So they are giving free information out, but I can promise you, originally being part of the organization, this is not coming to Barry for free. So get behind Barry Nussbaum and help him continue his mission at American Truth Project. Okay, Barry, I made a promise. So the very first question I have here from Facebook, I think is from Robert. They're asking if you can clarify a confusing reports out. They're saying IDF is saying every member of Israeli armed forces came back safely, but then there are reports saying a male pilot was beheaded and a female pilot was captured. I have seen those reports too. Do you have any insight, anything to tell us which one is the truth, which one is not, what's happening?
I've seen the reports. The Israeli Air Force says no. If there was a truth to that report coming out of Iran, Israel would delay it until the families of the pilots were notified. I can check again on my feed that is coming out of Israel. I have an update as of 6 minutes ago, and that alert system denies the report.
I hope that is the truth, because I cannot even imagine for a second a female Jewish Israeli pilot captured by IRGC. Lord, let that not be the case, because it's just not bearable to think about. And let's not mention, I think it's a good thing that as of right now, there is no leverage. By the way, another question, it is on the question side, but I also am curious, why do you think Israel has not taken out Khamenei yet? Do you think it's their leverage at the moment?
I think they tried. There was some talk about they had a location for him and he was on
Yes.
the target. I think there was an attempt made and it was not successful because Iran made a big deal about saying he's alive and in command and making speeches. They would not have done that but for the fact that Israel tried to get him. That's my guess.
Yes, and I also did break, I think it was Brandon's radio when I said they are seeing some activities and they're moving him again. They did say they're moving Khamenei again, and then quickly they got him on camera talking. So you don't think they're holding back? You think they just tried and failed?
Yes.
Do you think they're going to try again?
It depends on actionable intelligence. Keep in mind, I would think if he's gone, it's over. Because the religious sect of their kind of Islam is in total control of the government. And if that total control is decapitated, and the army has already been decapitated, remember that nobody serves as president or any of these roles without the blessing of the supreme leader. If there is no supreme leader, things would unravel very, very quickly.
It's true, and I guess that's where my curiosity was almost all day. I'm like, well, Israeli forces, they are very aware that if now I could understand why they would take out the commanders first, because if they took out the supreme leader, the commanders still would have the authority to move forward. But when they took the commanders out and then taking the supreme leader out, it's game over. Completely game over. So I know this is terrible, especially as a Christian. I shall not be saying this, but I pray that they get all the intels they need to actually finish this once and for all by finishing Khamenei. But we shall wait and see. Okay, next question I have here from YouTube, Barry, for you is, can you give us any details or inside information as to what is the next step IDF is planning? Or maybe just give us a guess of yours.
I can tell you what's been leaked through Israeli channels, and that is that do not expect this to be over in a couple of days. Israel has a target list that is very, very lengthy. The most important targets relate to the uranium enhancement sites at Natanz and Fordo and so on. Because they are under mountains, and I'm talking about hundreds of meters deep, Israel can't get inside the mountain without commandos, which have not been launched, although there are rumors that it was considered. It's going to take weeks to seal those mountains and to take out all the missile production facilities. Remember, Iran had leaked a story a few days ago that they'd made a deal with China for China to supply the materials for thousands, not hundreds, thousands of the big long-range ballistic missiles. Those factories, if they're taken out, will render Iran's ability to attack neighboring countries, including Israel, moot. So I would understand and agree that it may be a week or two of these sorts of bombing raids before Israel stands down.
Well, let me ask you this. When you say a stand down, this one is my question. Do you think this a few days or a week, 2 weeks, do you think this time around Israel is going to just finish it? Or do you think it's going to escalate? They're going to, as they said, achieve part of their objective and then there will be a ceasefire again?
I would say because they have made the decision to go, they can't stop. And by analogy, I would compare it to Gaza and Hamas. The UN every week comes out with a demand: stop the war. They don't make a demand, release the hostages, lay down your arms, stop killing Jews. They just say stop the war, and they accuse Israel of war crimes. Israel can't stop because there'll be another war in 6 months and more hostages will be taken, and these hostages will die in the tunnels. So they can't stop until they win. It's existential. The threat from Iran is 1,000-fold, 1,000,000-fold more dramatic and impactful than the threat from Hamas, such as it is. Israel has to finish the job as much as they can until Iran knows they will never do it again, because the response is going to be catastrophic. That's why I think Kharg Island is a target and should be a target. And I think the Ayatollah should be a target. And they need to seal the entrances to every nuclear facility, and they know where they all are. And a lot of them have never been made public, but Mossad knows where they are.
Oh, of course. Iran could launch a ground attack as it's a much bigger country. Will they?
No, they're too far away. There's no way to get their
How about their
people.
proxies?
Well, the proxies, we can talk about the proxies. There's basically 4 of them. The Houthis, most of Yemen has been destroyed where those missiles come from. There's one that was launched about 30 minutes ago. Israel just took it out. If you notice, the number of missiles coming out of the Houthi-controlled areas is very reduced, courtesy of the United States Air Force and the Israeli Air Force. The last response from Israel came from missile boats off the coast of Hodeidah, the capital of the Yemen-controlled part of, or the Houthi-controlled part of Yemen. So I don't see them as a much of a threat. Hamas is 99% destroyed. Once in a while, they get a missile off. The main people the Hamas soldiers are trying to kill now is Gazans who are controlling the food distribution. Ironically, they're killing more of them than they're killing Israelis. I'm not worried about them as a proxy. Hezbollah came out with a statement today: we will not attack Israel. We don't want to get involved. Why are they saying that? It's an Islamic organization founded, trained, led, financed, and directed by Iran. Why would they say we're not going to get involved? Because they're decimated as an organization, and there's very few of them left. That's the third proxy. And the fourth is I would group a bunch of very small terror organizations spread throughout Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq. Within Syria, the new dictator of Syria, the former terrorist, I say former, he had a $5 million bounty on his head a few months ago from the United States. And now, in the words of Donald Trump, he wears a nice suit and he's a good-looking guy.
Right.
It's the same terrorist he was 2 months ago. He's just in a suit instead of, looking like he's on the back of a Nissan pickup with a machine gun. So the proxies are gone. And the ability of Iran right now to direct those proxies with no management in any division of their armed forces, especially the Quds force, doesn't exist. I think it'd be very difficult to strike Israel with the proxies.
Agreed. So we only have about 12 minutes left. And guys, I have my eyes over here on the comments. So if you have more questions, send them in. But now I'm going to take the 12 minutes if you don't send any more questions. Let's play what if. Let's play all possible scenarios, Barry. The first
Okay.
scenario, my ideal scenario, within next few days, Trump administration stays completely out of the way. No need to help, just to stay out of the way. And Israel will target and finish all the bases they need to demolish, and hopefully even take out Khamenei, and it's done. Maybe possibly even Prince Pahlavi can, at least have a temporary government in Iran to get things rolling.
As my late mother used to say, from your mouth to God's ears.
That is what my heart would want, but here's where I'm going with this. How quickly and how major the backlash and anti-Semitism inside America is going to start getting American Jews killed.
I don't think it has anything to do with Iran and Israel, because Iran hasn't done a very good job of making themselves likable on the world stage. So Israel attacking Iran after Iran's been claiming they're going to destroy Israel and making statements like, we hope more people move to Israel so all the Jews can be in one place so we can kill them all at the same time. Even among the worst anti-Semites, that's not the most popular slogan. So I don't think that's going to increase anti-Semitism, to be honest with you. I think when Trump is successful through the Department of Education Secretary, the Homeland Security Secretaries, the Secretary of State, Customs and Border Protection, and so on, in suppressing the Hamas-aligned riots on campuses and in cities, it will die down. That's my hope, and that's actually what I believe. I think when you listen to the speeches of people like Leo Terrell, who's civil rights lawyer who has been fantastic on the front lines of fighting anti-Semitism on university campuses and in these demonstrations, and people are starting to go to jail and people are getting deported, I think it will get shut down.
I hope so, but I'm worried about the sleeper cells, the IRGC and the Hamas and the Hezbollah sleeper cells, the sympathizers. I know there are, sadly, unfortunately, Iranians in America. As you know, when Qasem Soleimani was killed, they started coming out of the woodwork and start trying to kill Americans because Soleimani was killed. So do you think it will diffuse itself when the head of the snake is cut off?
I think so. Unfortunately, what you just said is terrifyingly true. We don't know how many shaheeds are in this country, people wanting to be martyrs in the service of Islam. We don't know what we don't know.
Mhm.
You know, if it's just 1 or 2%, we're talking about a couple 100,000 people. It's terrifying how many people could be here that hate America and hate you. I mean, you of all people coming out of Iran and accepting Christianity, you're the big time enemy, right? And there's a lot of people that are religious that will be targeted. if indeed there are enough here with weapons and the inclination to carry out what they see as their mission in life, which is to establish the caliphate here. I'm not trying to scare you. You know what you're up against. You see the hate speech online. I do too. It is horrid. But I can tell you, I'm reading a poll right now as we're talking. It was released this morning from Fox. The majority of people in the poll say they support Israel taking out Iran's nuclear program. How about that for a shocker?
Wow.
Poll just released. It's on Fox News right now.
That's, well, again, I don't know. You're right. We don't know what we don't know. But what I do know is we're almost to the end of this very, very educational 2 hours spent with you, Barry. So before we let you go, last word of wisdom goes to you. Whatever you think my audience need to understand, take away, look for in the next few days, all yours.
The first thing I would say is to repeat what I used to say when I gave a lot of public speeches, and that is, please go on Amazon, invest $4 or $5, get a simplistic English translation of the Quran, read it, believe it. According to Islam, those are the perfect words of the perfect man, direct from God. And when you get done with the book, if you're not shaking and needing a couple of real strong alcoholic drinks to calm yourself down, you need to read it again. Know what you're up against, especially if you believe in God, because you are going to see a message that ought to scare you to the core of your being. And it's not written 1500 years ago by a crazy guy and nobody pays attention to it anymore. It was written 1500 years ago by a crazy guy, and it is the Bible of billions of people that make it their life's work to make sure that that comes true. And if you don't believe me, you need to read the book. And if you don't believe Annie, read the book. You have to know what they are planning so you can get involved. And when you see somebody walking down the street covered in a hijab with just their little eyes sticking out, and you think that's religious expression, that's submission. That is torture. That's abuse. And when you hear stories about women being beaten or killed because they wanted to do something that had freedom involved in it, go support them. Do what you need to do to free these people from the oppression that they are under. You need to get involved. You cannot stay on the sidelines. This is a war for the survival of you, your family, and Western civilization. That's my big admonishment. I saw you doing it every day, having come from where you came from. Your story is amazing. I would also invite people to learn about Annie's biography. It is incredibly inspirational to understand how she even survived, let alone is on the internet with me having this discussion today that's going to be seen by thousands, if not more.
Well, I appreciate that, Barry. And yes, I agree with everything you said. Know that if you don't know your enemy, you can't fight your enemy. And truthfully, it is Islam is our enemy, as Jews, as Christians, as humans. That's what Islam is. Barry Nussbaum, founder of American Truth Project, a 501c3 nonprofit organization educating everyone who has access to internet on America's national security, narrowing in on Islamization, jihad, terrorism, and those who hate all of us here in America. Findberry.com, right, Barry?
Findberry.com takes you right to the website. You'll see thousands of videos, my writings, my book. It's a lot to digest, but if you sign up, we'll just send you the stuff, and a couple times a week, in 5 minutes, you'll know the important stories, direct, unfiltered, right from the source. And we have all the sources, as do you.
Yes, he does. And let's do this soon because I'm pretty sure this is going to be a developing situation. It's not going to end soon. So I will get in touch with you over the weekend, Barry, and hopefully I can get you back on the show so we can analyze and give more understanding of the situation to the people. How does that sound?
I'm always here for you, my friend. You're part of the family.
Amen. Be safe out there. And to our audience, this was wonderful. I know not all great news, right? But it is so good to know that there are still platforms such as WorldViewTube, WorldViewTube.com, if you're looking for the website, or on Rumble or on X, but WorldViewTube, X America News, XAmericaNews.com, there are still platforms who would allow myself, Barry Newsbaum, to sit here for 2 straight hours and analyze and dissect and talk and give educational point of views without the twist and the filter and the gag order. So I want to thank all of our audience on all platforms. My platforms, Live Up to Freedom, X America News, World YouTube. Thank you for being around. Thank you for even caring enough to want to know what's going on and what is going to happen. Because I know you could have just turned all of this off, go turn on, I don't know, a football game or a sitcom or whatever, and just pretend like it's not there. Most people do that. So I want to acknowledge your willingness to know the truth, to be up to date, and World YouTube, if you're watching this on other platforms, head over to World YouTube when I wrap up, because the coverage is going to continue here on worldviewtube.com. I want you to support worldviewtube.com in any shape, form you can, because as I said, it's maybe I'm biased, but you don't find many networks out there who were on top of this from 8:30 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern time last night until this moment. So get behind World YouTube if you like to support me on my mission, which is exposing Islamization and the dangers of Sharia for human society. LiveUpToFreedom.com. LUTFstudio.com, where you can purchase my handmade art, or you can go to liveuptofreedom.substack.com, become a paid subscriber. Your monthly contribution will help me pay my bills so I can continue reporting, writing, and doing exposés. Please stay safe, stay vigilant during this weekend. You see something, say something, be aware. Keep praying for Israel as the land, as the nation, as its people, and its government. And please pray for Iran as the land, the nation, and its people, but not the monster regime. I cannot wait to see you all again. Until then, may God bless you and may God bless America. Goodbye, guys.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
2 years ago, whatever was 100% of my traffic to my website, it's been crashed by 95%. That's stunning to me. Mostly Google has done it, but other actors as well.